Hey, today we're talking to writer David Quinn, mostly known for Faust, Love of the Damned, the infamous 80s splatterpunk series.
The thing that got you a whooping. Keep going.
Thing that got me grounded when I was a teenager. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his start in comics. We're going to talk about his screenwriting credits and some very unusual stuff he's doing now, especially if you've read Faust.
Let's go!
Hey, everybody. We're here with writer David Quinn. Writer of many, many things, including one of my favorite series of all time, Faust, Love of the Damned, which I ended up getting the collection recently, and finally finishing the story. So thanks for sitting with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. And thank you for picking up the collection.
Oh, yeah.
We printed extras, so if anyone still needs it, you can find them out there.
How can they get them? Is there any way to get them?
They're in all stores. All comic shops. They're distributed by Lunar and Diamond, so the direct market, and Simon and Schuster also distributes it to bookstores and comic shops.
Oh, nice.
We're really not trying to hide.
Yeah. Shouldn't be too hard.
We finally got it all into one book. We did a couple of very expensive limited hardcovers that sold out very quickly, but then we printed a whole lot of these, fine, library version, graphic novel sized, 500-page collection of Faust in paperback. Yeah, and it is up again. It looks sweet.
Yeah, it is a really, really nice book, actually. A lot of times trades, they seem kind of flimsy or whatever. This is really well done. Great paper. It's really well put together. It's definitely, if anybody's a comic book horror fan, any kind of actually fan of good writing even, this is a good thing to pick up.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the...
Brian got it at, we have a friend of ours who owns a comic shop, Newcomb Comics, and he actually has that expensive edition you said too.
Yeah.
Well, I has that one too.
I originally was going to get the Kickstarter one that came out, and a friend of mine who works at the comic store where I buy things, he only got one in. And he was like, listen, do you want it? Because if not, I'm going to take it. And I was like, no, you go ahead, you take it. And I'll wait for the next round. And that's why I ended up with this one.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, the Kickstarter was a huge success. We sold out very, very quickly, raised all the money we needed and more. So it really funded all three editions.
Yeah.
We were covered by the very generous fans who put their hard-earned money into that very limited edition. And now they've got a book that, they can take a look on eBay and say, oh, it's $500 now. Okay, well, I didn't get ripped off.
Yeah, right.
It's funny now how that's working with, I see it more and more with the Kickstarter, and how I believe that a lot of these comic books are funded by our generation, which is the generation we have. We have money to spend at this point right now, and we want to relive our path. So we see these Kickstarters all the time. I think it's a great way to fund a book that maybe would never get put out unless the fans really get behind it and help put it out.
Yeah, and not only that, but get finally finish a story that you started reading in 1988 that you couldn't afford the last two issues of.
So before we go any further, I'm going to do something that I intended to do when we started this. I'm going to force Brian to tell the story.
Oh God.
Of buying the first issue of Faust.
Oh, please.
All right. So
let's see him lose.
He was reluctant to tell us, and I was like, no, you have to tell the story.
Probably either 15 or 16 years old. And I went to where I grew up in Levittown on Long Island. I went to a little comic book convention that was in the basement of a Baptist church. You're going to like that little detail probably. And a guy, I was buying some Batman books from one of the guys there. And he said, oh, do you like Batman? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, do you like Wolverine? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, oh, check this out. And he sold me issue 1 of Faust on the basis of that suggestion. Oh, do you like Batman? Do you like Wolverine? Check this out. So I took it home thinking like, oh, it's going to be like a independent vigilante book, which it was kind of. But then I was like, oh, wow, this is like, because I was already a fan of things like Clive Barker. And
okay, you were prepared. You were prepared.
I was already a horror fan, so it wasn't like, oh my God, this is my first experience with anything like this. But a couple of weeks later, my mother found the comic in my room and looked through it, and I got in so much trouble for having it, like so much trouble. But eventually she relented, and I kind of convinced her that it was, no, it's really a good story, and it's more than just this thing. It's more of like a philosophical story, and all this other stuff. So I eventually kind of convinced her it was okay. But even to this day, she will not, like, if I were to like call her right now and be like, "Oh, you know who I'm going to talk to is the writer of that," but she would never want to talk about it.
Honey, don't give him your address.
Yeah.
I think I had a similar story with a Richard Corbin comic, and I forget which one it was, but it kind of doesn't matter.
Right.
Very surreal, very full of plump, muscular, buxom men and women, and running around naked with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I must have been about 13 when I had that, and my parents were a strange combination that doesn't really exist anymore of like Midwestern politically conservative but socially liberal.
Okay.
Like those are now like been divorced into two people mostly. You hardly ever find that in the same person.
Yeah, right.
When you do, because you can have a conversation about anything with a person like that, because they're really aware that there are two ways of looking at things. But anyway, my dad was like, "I found some stuff in your comics. It's not really your department." Like, oh, what did he find? Richard Corbin, some of the Furry Freak brothers.
Oh,
because I wasn't a druggy kid.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I did like weird comics that would venture into fantasy and sexuality and violence and stuff like that. Obviously, I like that.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, but the beauty of it was, I think in my family, I didn't get in huge trouble. I did get the talk, like, I know what you're up to. You better play it straight with me, and keep your grades up. I think it helped that I did well in school, so it was like, okay, well, he's not totally demented.
God, Richard Corbin. You bring up Richard Corbin. What was it that when you were younger, what got you into comics? Like, what was the thing that you said, like, okay, yeah, this is something I think I'd like to do, or maybe even where you realized, like, oh, there are real people who do this. Like, it's not just pictures on paper that magically happen.
Well, from an early age, I was interested in writing for theater.
Okay.
And I was interested in writing music for rock bands. So I was constantly performing, and my performing life was teaching me how to collaborate with other people, obviously, listen and contribute and tune together, and whether it's in words or in acting or whatever. And comics was just sort of something I enjoyed in the background, because as a little kid, I liked a diverse bunch of different kinds of traditional classic things, like classic Mad, which I discovered in a hardcover. Those undergrounds I mentioned. Being an adolescent in the 70s, came out of, comics like Tomb of Dracula and Howard the Duck and Doctor Strange were all hitting with really interesting stories right at the time when I was looking at comics sort of seriously as an adolescent, and thinking, how do the stories work, and how do they do this? And at that time, I didn't think I was going to write comics. I wanted to be a rock star and also write plays, which I did for a while, and I did until my 20s. And I was in a position, I'll just do the really, really short version, because I've written about this in other places like the blog and stuff. But the real thing I got then was, I can be a professional in the field of music, I can be a professional in the field of theater, and I can't make the kind of money that'll ever allow me to have a family.
Right.
Send a kid to college or buy a house. This is like sustenance living, like just making it. And then I was looking over at the people doing comics in the 80s, and stuff was happening for people.
Yeah.
Guys that I had, actually, one guy that I had met, Peter Laird, in Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
We traded comics when I was in college, right before he went on with Kevin Eastman, who I would later work with at Tundra, to create the Turtles. And here were, people who became independent businesses, independent art businesses, doing their stories, very DIY, very rock and roll, very crazy. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and there were several other people at the same time doing that.
Yeah.
One of them was Tim Vigil. Someone introduced us to each other. I was a cocky playwright, but I was trying to convince him, you could work on even more complex and crazy stories. You can really take it over the top, where the story is just as intense as the art. Because I was, like I said, cocky. I was thinking, like, sometimes it's the art that's carrying the books he's working on. Some people might still say that because it's a visual medium, but it was like he wasn't ever matched up with a writer that was willing to kind of push as far as he was until he started working with me and a few other people.
Well, yeah, I mean, he has such a unique style. I mean, the minute you see his stuff, you're like, oh, that's Tim Vigil. Like, you don't even have to see his name on it. He has such like that sort of exaggerated, surreal, hyper realistic thing, which actually complements the story so much because it just drives home some of the really shocking moments, but also like there's some great emotional moments that come through, which is like
I was just gonna say he's really in tune to the emotion and always has been.
Yeah.
It's great to work with him for that reason, because you never expect anything bland. And sometimes he might, make something slightly different or make suggestions about how to do something in a slightly different way. I always try to listen because it's usually going to be more interesting for him and more interesting for me if we figure out what that is. So it's all collaboration. I just give you the fast version of how I went from being a little kid who wanted to write for the theater and be a rock star to someone who would be, spending day in and day out creating, paper movies.
Yeah.
And it was all from loving collaboration, which I'm still loving, in my seniority.
Yeah, you could tell by the way that your love of music because it shows up so much in Faust. I mean, there were bands I discovered because of Faust. I mean, I think Jane's Addiction. I discovered Jane's Addiction because of Faust because you quote it. I think in the first issue, you quote Ted Just Admit It from Nothing Shocking, and I remember when I first heard that, I thought of Faust first. A friend of mine played me that Jane's Addiction song eventually. It was a very odd moment of like coincidence or synchronicity or whatever you want to call it. And I heard that song and I was like, oh wait, that's in that comic. That was in the comic Faust. And then I started listening more and more to Jane's Addiction, and that was a bit of like really cool.
That's so cool.
Again, I
always wanted to do that in comics. I don't think I was the only person to ever do it because I've seen other people do it. But I know that any time that you can invoke someone's poetry or someone's music or something with us, people have a strong emotional response to. It adds a whole other layer to the.
And you do that really well. You really do that well in Faust, I think, because you've got quotes by Goethe that get fit in there really well, and there's an entire episode that parallels the Plato's parable of the cave. That's just fantastically done, and just drives a lot of that home. And a lot of us who read it when we were younger, I know I've talked to other people about this too. It's like that was like our introduction to sort of this like philosophical way of thinking about art, and it was very, very impactful. I wonder if anybody else ever told you that, like anybody ever else say like this kind of like had a big effect on me. Because I know a lot of people talk about the shock and the gore, and yes, that's all there, and it's very, very effective. But I think, like when I seriously talk to people about it, the philosophical side is what people really lean toward.
Well, Clive Barker was an influence.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's always been the way he approached his work too. He's also someone who started writing for the theater.
Yeah.
And he's someone who just like said, sometimes you can break all the rules and you could throw all sorts of things in here that, might seem objectionable. Some of them are because they're objectionable because they're, what someone would say, oh, that could be pornography. If it wasn't obviously done with a serious intent, that could be just simple porn.
Yeah.
It's not simple porn because there's a lot going on there, but at the same time, it's got, if you filmed it literally, you'd be shooting something that, would be the cinematography of a sexual movie.
Right. Oh yeah. I want to get to the Faust movie in a second because I like that movie. I do like the movie a lot, and I know he took a lot of heat. But House of M, you kind of did that parallel with Faust, right? And that was
Sure.
more of like sort of delving into like M, the character of M, and sort of getting to know him. When you based M on obviously on Mephistopheles from the original Faust,
Hmm.
right? Did you have anyone in mind who sort of like when you thought of M and you created him, did you have like an actor in mind or a certain person? Or I'm very curious
No,
because he's such a solid
it
character.
was. I never asked him that question, so maybe he had someone in mind.
Oh,
But
so
I
it's
think
more
I
visual.
really
Mhm.
just always sort of, I just thought of our guy, our
Yeah.
devil. I
Hmm.
thought he would have to be sophisticated
Hmm.
and someone that you could actually sometimes feel empathy for,
Yeah.
and also be completely disrupted, disturbed, and upset by because
Hmm.
he could be so, I don't know what's the word, sociopathic. Is the
Yeah.
devil a
Hmm.
sociopath?
Yeah.
He's obviously got an anti-human agenda at the
Sure.
same time, although he's kind of addicted to playing with humans, so therefore he's kind of obsessed with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, um, I don't have sort of a. I mean, in my life, sort of think of like the devil as like a huge, powerful metaphor in life.
Hmm.
Like, there's
Yeah.
been times when I've taken jobs that it's like, oh, this is just a deal with the devil. I need to make some money,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and hopefully it's not too disgusting to work for an insurance company for $2,000 in a hurry. So,
Sure. No, it's
you know
no.
what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
I think of the devil as a very corporate sort of thing. Like right
Mhm.
before Faust, I was working on a play which some of the elements went into Faust, and it was about making a modern urban. I was living in New York, so New
Yeah.
York, modern New York, Manhattan hell,
Yeah.
and make everything a metaphor for something else. So all the business people, they're the
Yeah.
devils. And there are certain Samaritans out there that become the angels, and it
Mhm.
was like a cosmology, but a metaphor.
Yeah.
So that part of all those ideas were like perfect for Faust, and that's where that New York of in Faust comes from.
Hmm.
And I would write that, and Tim would draw his version of it and add his images of it, and it became you know sort of hallucinogenic, crazy New York that was
Yeah.
very dark. And the 80s had their darkness in their own way anyway, just
Hmm.
politically and in terms of the economy of New York and the
Sure.
things going on with the crisis of AIDS and things like that. So it was like not a huge stretch.
Well, yeah. I
Um,
mean,
but what I'm
I'm sorry. Go
trying
ahead.
to say is the devil to me is like always a metaphor.
Hmm.
And that's why
Yeah.
it's this devil in particular, that the Mephistopheles of Faust, he
Hmm.
comes from, one of the oldest stories there is that's been repeated many times in many different versions.
Hmm.
And there'll be many different versions after we're all gone.
Yeah.
And, and some of them are even, like some of them don't even have a one-to-one correspondence, but you still say, well, that is a Faustian bargain.
Oh,
You
yeah. Hmm. Sure. I mean, you can see that in movies like The Godfather, and
know?
there's
Hmm.
no clear devil, but there's a Faustian bargain being made there, obviously. You brought up the idea of depicting New York in the 80s, and that was around the time I started, like I said, I was a Long Island kid when I started traveling into the city to go to like, teenage hardcore shows and things like that. And that sort of like rough and ready end of the 80s is really captured really well in it, I think.
Sunday matinee at CBGB.
Yeah, or Coney Island High.
Those are
Yeah.
great.
We were trying to catch up with what had happened in the 70s, but we had already missed it, so
Yeah, I came right after the 70s. My
yeah.
band was playing from 82 to 86 in places
Oh,
like CBGB's and the Ritz and Danceteria and Peppermint
yeah.
Lounge and
Yeah, we had just missed
around the
all
East Coast. We were the guys in the little bus warming up for the big guys.
that.
Are you still in New York now? You still live?
I am, but I'm north of the city in the Sleepy Hollow area of
Okay.
Westchester.
Oh, it's nice up
Yeah,
there.
we're on Staten Island, so we've
Oh, yeah.
been here our whole lives, right?
Well, no, I was
Oh,
Long Island, then the
You've
city,
been in-
then here.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've been here. You've
Yeah.
been Staten Island
so we know
Yeah.
the city in the '80s fairly well.
pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what? Let's see. So let's talk about the movie. So Brian Yuzna, right?
Yeah.
Is he both produced and directed the movie, right?
Yeah,
And
I guess
you wrote the
there were
screenplay.
several producers, but yeah, he drove the second one. I say second one because there was actually a version before him where he was one of the producers, but Stuart Gordon was going to be the director of the
Oh,
first,
really? Wow.
and that one never went forward all the way. It
Oh,
was Brian who actually raised the money with Filmax, the company in Barcelona,
yeah.
to do Faust as well as a handful of other things. I don't think I've been in touch with them recently because we want to make sure we have the rights to do it again, right? Because there's like an ongoing effort to do it again.
To do another one.
Yeah, to do it another one for today.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm still in touch with the company in Barcelona because they're not in the business of horror anymore, but they're
Right.
not working with Brian anymore. They're not. They do very, very little that's dark. It's a lot more drama and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
think, you know, they're not what's the word? They're not complicating the equation when we go talk to other people. The rights are clearly ours.
Yeah. Well, you know, Stuart Gordon would have been a great fit, actually. I love his
It was
movies.
cool. It was a very cool man and fun to work with. I have
Yeah.
fond memories of having a crazy meeting with him in the Disney Animation Building on the Disney lot. He had done Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and had a
Right.
job developing for Disney.
It still blows my mind that he made that
He was
movie.
just doing a side project with me, Faust.
Now, you got the deal to write the screenplay, which is pretty great, actually, for a creator to be able to write the movie version. That just doesn't really happen with comic book adaptations usually.
Yeah, it can happen. What I found was it can happen, but if you're not an established screenwriter already, it does limit you in some
Right.
ways. It's like if you're going to say, you know, my dream actor is this guy I met in, you know, at the Guthrie Theater.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's going to be M. And it's like, okay, well, you just put a $50 million movie into a $5 million movie, but fine, we'll use them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I mean, I was never gonna be a big budget writer.
Mhm.
My first screenplay in my 20s.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, you know, I'm open-minded now because every single thing I'm working on, I own or co-own with my collaborators,
Yeah.
and I want to do TV and film.
Yeah, that's great.
We've had a bit of success. We will have more. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming. So I mean, I'm smarter business wise about it, and it's just like, well, I want to be a producer, but I don't need to be the only writer.
Right. Okay. Now you said Faust was your first screenplay. What other movies can we go out there and look for that you've written? You got
Nothing that's been made.
nothing has been made. Oh, but you've got some stuff out there that you optioned and stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're optioning things, we're selling things. We have, you know, pitch Bibles and plots and, you know, stories that this is the synopsis of the story we will tell in season 1. That's that kind of thing of everything I'm working on.
It's funny.
But other than that, I mean, the stuff that I've done, I could dig out dusty old plays from the 80s, but
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Every time we talk to somebody who does screenwriting along with comics, they say the same thing. Like, yeah, I've sold a bunch of stuff, but nothing's got made. So people are buying stuff, but they're just shelving it. And I don't know. That's always a practice that always baffled me.
Well,
like,
the whole option thing where you can option something and they have X amount of years to
years,
do it,
yeah.
and then you can option it again. And
yeah, who did we talk about with that? That was
Allred. Oh no, Buccellato had.
Brian
Buccellato had a couple of things that he's optioned like 2 or 3 times, and he's still waiting for it to get made. And it doesn't get made.
Yeah, but I guess it's good.
We're determined to do Faust, and I'm determined to do
Great.
Nightmare. My new book, The Addiction, with Vincent Zarzolo and that team. I want to do that. 777 The Wrath, I've always seen as a movie. So I mean, you know, and I know Tim's the same way, and all my collaborators are the same way. They're all thinking, Yeah, of course, movies and TV, we want to do that too.
Yeah.
You just need to put everything together. It's a process, and you have to get the whole production together from end to end. And that's why some things they don't work, because maybe they raise the money, but there's no one to distribute it.
Right.
Maybe they option it, but they don't have a streaming service relationship to make sure it's going to be on TV or whatever it is. You know?
Yeah. So you're thinking maybe Faust could be a streaming series or another movie?
Either one.
Because, not to, I don't know anything about the business, but it seems like it would be an excellent fit for Shudder. The horror streaming service Shudder, it would be really good on there because they've done some crazy stuff on there. Yeah, I don't know if you saw like Psycho Gorman.
I love that you see it and you can imagine it, because that tells me, okay, we're on the right track to keep talking to people, keep trying to find the best people we can find to take it the deepest and the broadest and the widest we can.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, again, I don't know anything about the business. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who likes comics on YouTube.
Just a guy in the comic shop. But
yeah, but Shudder just seems like that would be an excellent place to put it, because they would just probably let you do whatever you wanted. I mean, for God's sakes, they showed Audition on there. And that movie was night. You ever see Audition, the Japanese horror film?
I've read it. I mean, I've read about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
There's something wrong with the people who made that, and I don't know why they put it out there. But anyway,
everyone just assumes that right away. Everyone assumes that. Boy, Stephen King probably has such a hard time. Like when people say to him, like, "You're a lot nicer than I thought you'd be." I thought you might have like a dead cat in your backseat.
That's the old joke Stephen King used to make. He's like, people think I'm very, very strange. I just have the heart of a small boy. It's sitting in a jar on my desk.
No.
So the addiction. Let's talk about the addiction. What is the addiction? Introduce tell our audience about it. Great cover. And
we are in the thick of putting this out. We did a premiere at last year's New York Comic Con, which sold very well.
Nice.
We sold also a digital collectible version through VV that you might have heard of. They do a lot of Marvel and DC, and they also do the Addiction comics. And we've reached a lot of people with this hybrid story that takes some elements from comedy and some elements from crime and produces what we hope is an entertaining story to thrill you and make you laugh. And so Dr. Nikki Tino was a doctor specializing in recovery from addiction. She was willing to work unconventionally and combine, the psychology with the chemistry. And she was very successful. And as a result, this being a comic book, we cut right to, conflict. As a result, the drug cartels tried to kill her. And when they killed her with drugs, she developed the comic book science power of being able to drug you with her touch.
Nice.
So that's the only fantasy element. Everything else is pretty straightforward. So many elements come from her relationship with her boyfriend and family, which is sort of like a rom-com, or the crime elements, like dealing with the cartels, dealing with strange criminals, dealing with the big bad boss, and dealing with the daily scene in New York City of, a city with like a lot of this country, a city with a lot of addicts who could use some help, and it's hard to get.
Yeah, it sounds great, actually. I really like that idea. And again, you've gone to a strong central female character, which is something we don't see enough in comics, I think. Like Jade in Faust was such a good, strong character,
Also a doctor, come to think of it.
And a doctor, yes.
I must think we need a cure.
Yeah, an educated, strong female character. That's one of the, I thought, one of the great hallmarks of Faust.
This one is going to be like talking about movies. I mean, we're going to find somebody, a wonderful like franchise, to come be the leading actor and play this role of Nikki Tino, because this is going to be, it's going to be up there with some of the heroic women you think of when you think of films.
Yeah, that's great. I can't wait to see it.
Where can people find it now if they want
to? Just comic shops.
Okay.
The first 2 issues have been on sale in comic shops. We signed a whole bunch at Midtown Comics just the other day.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're very
The
friendly
local
with Smith.
store
we're
for
very
all of
friendly
us
with-
centered
yeah.
around New York. Forbidden Planet has them as well in our neighborhood.
Mhm.
Everybody should have them, and we do have a bunch of volunteers who are helping us get out to their comic shop and make sure people order. But people are ordering. It's the last couple of days of ordering the third issue, which completes the first story, and then we're going to take a bit of a break and get the second story ready for next year. So we're doing sort of, I don't know, sort of seasons of about 100-page story every year if we can keep it up.
I like that idea.
We're running a pretty good business with it, but it's it's more expensive than some of the very indie black and white comics I've done. So we're trying to be very, very careful to make sure we can make it profitable.
Yeah. Is there a place we can get it online? If people don't know
well, all the online retailers, I know some of those ones I just mentioned had it.
Midtown should have it.
Yeah.
Some of the national online retailers, like Things from Another World. I hate to leave anybody out, so I mean.
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, but we'll just look it up.
Yeah.
Just in case,
It's out there.
because I know there's some people who watch this
There
show
are.
who don't have really local comic shops anymore, which is unfortunate.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Now, will you be attending New York Comic Con this year?
Yes, we will. And that's where we will have a whole bunch of books that are just available at signings that we
Oh,
do.
that is really nice. Look at that cover.
So I
That's
think
very nice. Who's your artist on that?
this cover artist is Ryan Brown. And the
Okay.
one I showed before, I just happen to have two of them at my desk.
Mhm.
Is, of course, Art Germ.
Mhm.
This very popular cover. The
Mm.
the thing I was trying to tell you is if anyone's at New York Comic Con, we are at booth 3537.
One of us will be there. One of us can't take it because he went last year and almost died of a heart attack. So he's backing
You're
out.
being dramatic. You're
You
being
Oh.
said, I feel like I'm going to die.
Please stay alive. Please stay alive. We need you. We need you.
Yeah, well, I will be there on Saturday. I will definitely come by the booth to say hello. Brian just can't take the crowd.
Oh, well, not every creative behind the book, because there's a lot of them,
Mhm.
will be there, but the founders and partners and co-creators, myself and Vincent Zerzolo, will both be there.
Nice.
And we'll be signing, and we'll be offering up not only all the direct market editions, but all the variants. And there's even a do we have it at this show? I'm not well, I think we're actually supposed to have it at this show. It's either going to be this show or starting at our signings in November and December.
Mhm.
The third issue has a very rare Tim Vigil cover
Ooh,
because
okay.
Tim wanted to play and contribute and be part of the success of this new book, and
Nice.
I'm grateful to him for that.
That's awesome.
Good, you can give me some money and I'll pick
Yeah,
them up.
grab
here.
one for me. Yeah.
Give him some.
Shit.
Give him some money because a hot dog in New York is
That's
expensive.
right.
these days.
Listen, and I don't go by myself. I go with my two daughters. We've been going since they're in their 20s now. We've been going since they were like 8. So we go. It's the thing we do as dad and daughter. So they love going there and they get
Oh,
dressed up.
man.
And it's just I'm looking forward to. We've had a number of creators on, and a bunch of them are going to be at the convention. So I'll be meeting you guys for the first time in person, which is really cool. After talking to you.
Yeah, I want you to
Yeah,
come and meet everybody on our team that's around.
I will definitely come over.
My daughter won't be there. She's now in California in college.
Nice.
She's 19 now, and she and I did the same thing you did with your daughters. Ever since she was little, she started with Tiny Titans, and now she's a huge, manga and anime and even a little bit of horror comics fan.
okay.
My youngest, and it's funny because my youngest, we started. She was like 6 or 7 years old, and now she just graduated college, and she's going into movie. She wants to be involved in movies or theater or something. She's
Oh, great.
this really turned her into the person that she is today, going to conventions and meeting
Yeah.
creators and meeting actors, and it really shaped her. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it really shaped her into what she does now. And now she's actually leaving me in January. She got an internship at Disney, so she's going to go work with Disney for a little while.
Kick ass.
Yeah.
She's going to be right in the same. Is she going to Anaheim?
No, she's going down to Disney World. Going to work at Disney World.
Oh, okay. I get it. All right. Yeah, my daughter's college is by by Anaheim.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny how you shape them when they're little with this disease that you've had since you were little, and you give that same, addiction to comic books that they have.
Oh yeah, both my kids are avid horror movie fans because of me.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then there's one more thing you can share.
Yeah, that's exactly. And you share it forever. It's not
and learn from each other.
Yeah.
We share music too, but we have kind of different taste in music. But it's funny, she'll pick up on something punk or jazz, which is what I spend a lot of time listening to.
Yeah.
Or old soul,
my daughter knows more
pick up on some of that, and then she'll introduce me to some K-pop thing. I go like, that's pretty good. There's a word in there,
The work you put in when they're little really pays off when they're older. When you spend that time and take them to conventions and stuff. It really
that actually brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about. Now,
just a few comic book dads talking on Saturday morning.
There you go.
The thing I said this when we filmed our we talked about this in the opening. When you became a parent, you found that you liked reading storybooks to kids. I read online, and you actually wrote a storybook for children, which was called was it Go to Sleep, Little Creep? Was it?
I wonder if I have one handy.
Which, though people who only know you from Faust are going to be completely shocked by this idea.
I know.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone's complex. Everyone's got lots of sides to them. But children's books,
I see it as like I have every hour of the day.
Right.
So it's not all midnight.
Right. That's good. I like that. I like the
because reading, you guys know reading books to your kids is it celebrates story, and it celebrates your relationship, and it builds listening and continuity.
Yeah.
I love to do it. So I wrote a book designed to take it out and go to schools, hospitals, art classes, bookstores, and read it to the kids and get them howling with the werewolves and get them booing with the ghosts. This is Go to Sleep, Little Creep, the book you mentioned.
Yeah.
Wish I could. I'm so stupid that I don't have one handy, but they're all in the other room.
Okay.
Anyway, you can find it online everywhere. Yeah. It's still in print from Crown Books for Young Readers, which is Penguin Random House imprint. And so it's still out there. It's still on all the online stores. It's still in your better bookstores. And usually people tend to order it pretty heavy in the month of October for some reason.
There you go.
And invite me out to read it to the kids.
Yeah, just around the corner here, Halloween, right?
So go out and get it.
Go get it for your kids. Yeah.
So in this book, it's time for all the baby monsters to go to bed. It's dawn, and mommy monster is tired.
I love it.
And, it's a lullaby of putting all the babies to sleep. But they're all monsters, Classic, Dracula's daughter, Baby Frankenstein, Little Godzilla.
That's great.
A whole family of zombies with the zombie clan of kids.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Yeah, so once you get out and get that, that's really fun. If you have kids,
right now.
If you don't have kids, you just like storybooks, for God's sake, go get it. Who's your illustrator on that?
Ashley Spires, a Canadian artist who's done several books for kids and young readers.
Yeah,
and I think it's kind of a fun, witty book that's full of love and full of little Easter eggs for monster fans, old and young.
Yeah.
Kids love to howl with the werewolf, and parents enjoy seeing little tiny jokes that they recognize as something that's an homage to something classic, like a baby Frankenstein saying, "Cookie, good."
Love it. That's fantastic. So we're going to be out there looking for the addiction. Yeah. We're going to go out and look for Go to Sleep, Little Creep. What else are we looking for? That's...
we're trying, Vigil and I and other collaborators that we've worked with, like David Barber and Hannibal King and Kyle Holtz, we're trying to keep everything in print.
Right.
Thanks to Kickstarter backers and people that picked up Faust, we've got a proof of concept that it can work and you can keep something in print. And we would just love to have the the books you think of when you think of Rebel Studios, all still available.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of an archaeology project because we can't just go to digital files that are on someone's computer already, because some of this stuff, some of this stuff has never been, scanned in the modern way.
Right.
Some of it is, some was printed in an old-fashioned process, and his letters hand drawn on the same, cardboard that the art is drawn on.
Yeah.
So it's turning it's a bit like remastering old tapes of analog music and trying to make sure you can bring it up to date with all the tools.
Right.
So it's taking us a while, but we were getting help from fans, getting help from pros, and getting help from publishers, and we're working on getting that all out. That said, I can't tell you, oh, well, it's January 12th, because I don't
of course
for any of this stuff. We're working on Night Vision. We're working on The Wrath. We're working on the other Faust books that came out from Avatar, all the spin-offs with other characters that had claws, or other people that encountered M. You mentioned Book of M.
Right.
And, I might be forgetting something. Gothic Knights is another one. It's a book with David Barber, very Hammer horror influenced.
Yeah.
And, there's not going to be, there's no plans yet for an addiction spin-off. We just want to do the core book in a series here, and then take a break, and then a series the next year, and keep that up going. And Tim and I are also working on some strange little convention books. I'll tell you a quick story. Ever see this?
No.
No one did. Okay, what this was a Rebel Studios convention book, which we plan to take to all of our signings. And what we did was, instead of storytelling, we did an art book and a book of monologues.
Oh, wow.
And they correspond. Okay, here's a good example.
That's really cool.
That is really cool.
So you'll have that with you. This is called Anyone Can Be Enlightened. In the dream, you are beloved. In the dream, she cries your name. In the dream, you're everyone. In the dream, you brave the change. So shine on, shine on. In the dream, he takes your hand, lucid mythic odyssey. You meet yourself, you see another, you see what you so need to see. Shine on. In the dream, the house is crowded, but you found one empty room. How long will I be dead, you wonder? Sing, no grave can hold me down. Shine on. So we had a lot of fun with this. We surprised each other, because sometimes the illustration would come first, and sometimes the monologue would come first. Oh, there's color stuff in here too. I don't know if I can show some of that too much. So but there's a few of those left, and we're doing more. There's a few of this printing left. The reason you didn't see it is because this book was called Quotes and Visions Underground, 2018 to 2020. And you might recall that in 2020, it was hard to buy a convention book because there wasn't a convention. We all survived. I was lucky enough to survive, to live to tell the tale of those years, and now we're still telling the tale. So we're doing more of these, because Tim keeps drawing and I keep writing, and we like to jam them together. And so we'll do more of those. And there's a few of these left. We did a small print run of this to, like I said, to sell at conventions, and eventually we ended up FedExing them and priority mailing them out to people who would buy them from us on either Tim's Patreon or my signed book page on my blog. So we still have some of those. And
will you have them at New York Comic Con with you? Any at the table at New York Comic
Con? Probably not. I don't bring a lot of other stuff when I'm just really focused on either the addiction or Faust.
Right.
I usually have some Faust with me, because
It's
it's pretty easy to bring 5 or 6 paperbacks, and if anybody says, "Do you have any?" I say, "Yes, I do."
I got actually uh you signed for me and Tim signed for me back in 1991 or 2, I think it was, at New York Comic Con. Back when New York Comic Con was at the Penta Hotel across the
Oh,
street
yeah.
from Madison Square Garden. I have Faust #1 signed. And yeah, actually the North Star one that was out. Um Now you guys switched midway, right? In the run, it went from North Star to Rebel. That was
Yeah.
yeah.
You
So
ever
I
hear
imagine
what
that might be
happened with that?
tricky. Sorry?
You might be able to guess what happened with that. I mean, one thing that happened with a lot of the publishers that
Hmm.
stepped up, and for amateur publishers just smelling money and stepping up
Sure.
in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
A lot of them realized it was kind of hard to run their business responsibly, and took all the money and didn't pay the creators.
Yeah. Well,
And that's what happened with North Star.
it's a
So
terrible story that happened.
I tried for a while to plead and beg and threaten, and didn't get anything of the tens of thousands of dollars we were owed.
Oh,
And so we just said, okay, that's it.
yeah, you're on your own then, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We probably should have done it that way from the beginning, but we didn't.
Mm. Yeah, live and learn, right? I mean, look at how many different creators that's happened to over the years, you know?
You did something very unique with Faust early on. They also put out a card set that went along
Right.
with
I forgot
the
about that.
comic book, which
Mhm.
for an independent comic book at the time was not very well known. I know they do it a lot more now. How did that come about? And did you contribute? I know there was a lot of exposition on the back. Did you contribute that to the card series?
Yeah, yeah. I did that with. We didn't print that one ourselves. I think Tim was approached by someone who wanted to help us sell it.
Mhm.
But we did cards and a hologram card,
Mhm.
and there was a bubble when these
Yeah,
things were
definitely.
popular.
Mhm.
So you'll still see them around on eBay and stuff. And a little bit later, I had a fun time doing a similar thing with Brian Polito for his Chaos Comics.
Yeah.
He went through an expansion where he brought in a lot of other people to help him do several books a month.
Mhm.
So I was writing a few books a month for him at that time. And we did a card set that told a story as part of the back.
Nice.
The back matter on the cards told
Mhm.
a little story.
Right. You worked on Lady Death, right? And Purgatory?
Lady Death, Purgatory, monthly,
Yeah.
and I think one issue of uh, of Evil Ernie and one issue of Nightmare Theater.
Nice. Yeah.
And Brian and I were working on a couple of screenplays at the time too, but we shifted back to the comics
Yeah.
without actually coming to fruition on any of those projects going forward to being filmed.
Right. Right.
And you worked on Doctor Strange also for Marvel at one point, right?
About 3 years in the 90s, I wrote a Doctor Strange that started with the story that shattered him into 3 different versions of himself, sort of a preface to the multiverse thing that's so popular right now.
Yeah.
It wasn't a multiverse thing; it was a magical
Hmm.
incarnation that was like splitting him into 3. But that was sort of an identity crisis he went through, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So that was a good run, but that was at the end of a really tough period in comics and Marvel.
Yeah. That
Some
was
of it like an unforced error that Marvel itself caused,
right. Right.
like going the exclusivity games and putting a bunch of retailers out of business, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, that was like one of those boom and bust periods. So they were trying a bunch of crazy younger outsiders like myself at Marvel on their characters, and then all of a sudden it was like, nope, get rid of all that, fire half the editors, get rid of those books, go back to the classics.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. At the end of the 90s, I had a brief professional relationship with one of the editors at Marvel, and I actually got him some pitches because I originally thought I originally wanted to write comics way back when, and And he accepted. He was like, "Yeah, no, I'll get right back to you." And I think like 3 days after that, he was gone. And I was like, "Ah."
Oh, I felt terrible for
Yeah,
many people in the industry then.
yeah,
On the front lines, retailers like
Mhm.
who suddenly had a much harder business, and some of the boom and bust cycle was turning to the bust, and they were having to face it and be the first people to face it. And then it got everybody in the
yeah,
end.
yeah. Yeah. Things we learned.
But there's enough people. There's enough people who love the art form,
Mhm.
and the collectible form,
Yeah.
and the adjacent industries of storytelling around games and TV and film. There's enough people that are loving it to keep some form of this going.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, we'll just always be smart in those moments when greed might take over and create some sort of artificial boom, and
Yeah.
just like have real sustained, like make sure everyone who buys that book is actually enjoying it.
Hmm.
And I'm not against collecting, right? We have people that have slabbed addiction comics, and they're very happy that they can sell it for $1,000. And I'm like, great,
Yeah.
that is what you're in this for. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also like people that read their comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think both of us are
Yeah,
more the reader
we're
side of things, even though the channel's called
Yeah.
Collector's Confessions because I think overbuying confessions would have been
Yeah.
not a catchy title.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I sound like I'm being too simplistic about slab collectors, because I know it's like the grading standard. It's like a technical thing.
Mhm.
It's like if you're in the game for that high end collecting, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And those people also do read their comics for the most part. So
Yeah.
when I say we like people that read comics, I know they're reading their comics too.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
bought two.
Right.
Yeah.
Ungraded. That's good.
Okay, so again, we want everyone out there looking for The Addiction. We want everyone to buy Go to Sleep Little Creep. We want everyone keeping an eye out for any Faust streaming TV series that might come out, which maybe could be on Shudder, maybe not. I don't know. And yeah, like, listen, thank you so much for talking to us. This is great of you to give us your time on a Saturday morning.
Yes, this was great.
There's even Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme Omnibus Volume 3 that has just about my entire run of Marvel Comics.
Oh, great. You can out there look for that.
It's a 1,000-page omnibus, and about half of it is me. So
wow, that's cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
We've done many interviews with creators over the last year or so, and we're always very surprised when they say yes to us being on here. This one was basically, we've been back and forth, me and you, for the last couple of weeks about it. This one was basically a gift for Brian, because Brian has been a huge fan for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're one of the writers who he really, really wanted to talk to, because Faust has been such an impact on him since he was an early collector. So it was great that you could be on here and we could give this to Brian, that he could actually talk to one of the people that influenced his comic book direction, basically.
Yeah, and lots of other things. I mean, the series opened a lot of doors for me when I was younger. So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Happy Halloween to you both.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy.
I just have two requests before we go. Request number one is if you could possibly bring one of those convention things that I could get for Brian.
Oh yeah.
That would be great. And number two, if you ever need to use any, two not so good looking guys in your comics that have a, YouTube channel, we are more than welcome to. You can take our likeness and do whatever you want with it.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Thank you.
For that. Decapitation.
Yeah, there we go.
That's perfect.
Evisceration. Okay.
That would be great. That would be great. But really, thank you for taking the time to be with us. We really appreciate it. And I will definitely come see you at your booth at New York Comic Con and say hello.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Everyone, 35, 37, if you're at New York Comic Con. If not, search us up online.
Do you have anything else? Anywhere else besides New York Comic Con you're coming up? Anything scheduled?
Going down to Third Eye in December.
Okay.
What date is that? when I say Third Eye, I assume people in the industry know what it is. But if you don't live in the Annapolis, Maryland area, you might not know it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Look up the date.
Yeah.
So Annapolis.
Yeah, it's Annapolis.
Pretty place.
Third Eye has, I want to say, 9 comic, music, and toy and game related stores. Really great pop culture stores.
Wow.
They're huge, and they have relationships with The Addiction, with Faust, with other people that write things that sell even more than those, such as like I know Scott Snyder signs books for them, like, and he's got one of the biggest selling books of the year, and then the newest version of Batman.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a great opportunity for people. I just did a signing this summer with a bunch of other Black Mask creators, and we met great fans down there. And I know those stores, they know how to sell comics. So if we're signing comics for them, we know they're going to get into people's hands. Right. So December 7th, we're down there. If you're anywhere close to Annapolis, Maryland, look for it.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
We really appreciate it.
And
I enjoyed it, guys.
Back on anytime you want to promote something, just let us know.
We'll have you back on whenever.
On anytime you want.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
People see this interview, you're going to get mail.